have for a thrill. We have stories of the dead coming back
to life, tales of the
night evil.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
The All-American Spookshow.
Hello and welcome once again to another edition of the All-American Spookshow podcast. As always, I'm Josh, and I'm joined here with my good friend Will.
Hello.
And the Professor Smoke.
Hey.
And this week, for the very first time, we actually have an additional co-host or special guest. It's a friend of ours. He's been my friend for, good Lord, over 30 years. Will, I think he said he's known you for over, around 20 years or so. He's our friend Donny. Say hello to the people, Donny.
Oh man, yeah, I would fucking snort, right? God damn. Yeah. Hey.
I wouldn't say he's an expert witness or anything like that, but he's a big fan of horror movies as well. So we figured it'd be fun to mix it up and add a fourth voice to the conversation this week. Just something a little different. We're going to try this a little bit more often from time to time.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I mean, I know you've done shows before, like you've had your own podcast in the past, although that was about fantasy sports or specifically about fantasy football, right?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. This will actually be my first venture into the movie realm.
So we're here to pop your cherry.
Oh, yeah.
All right, guys, circle around.
Time to run the train. We're going to be talking about a more recent release. Came out June 10th, 2016. It was the Conjuring 2, which was kind of the, it was the third movie of the Conjuring Universe. There's been, how many of these now, Smoke? 8, 9, 10? How many now?
Oh, God, there's been, well, do you want me to go ahead and run down the timeline at this point?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
So, and on the show, we've covered, well, I guess as we come to them on this list, we'll go over which ones we've covered so far on the show. But and also the timeline's kind of, if we're going by what the first movie, or the first year that they show a scene from in any of these movies, it would be Annabelle Creation, which was 1943, a scene that takes place in that movie. But the bulk of that movie takes place in 1955, and then it ends up in 1967, which would be shortly before the events of the first Conjuring movie. So you could place, I guess, Annabelle Creation in there as the first movie that shows a scene from, let's say, 1943. After that would be The Nun, which takes place in 1952. And then you come to the first Annabelle movie, which we covered on the podcast. I forget which episode it was. And that was in 1967. That's when that one was set. Then you come after that, you get to Annabelle Comes Home, which is directly after it. It's set in 1968 and 1969. But then there's also a continuity error, I guess you could say, in that timeline, because the cold open of the original Conjuring movie was set in 1968. That shows some events in the Annabelle movie. So, but when I go to Annabelle Comes Home, there's an artifact in the Warrens Museum, or whatever you want to call it, of their paranormal artifacts room or whatever.
I just call it the evil room.
Yeah, the evil room. Yeah. So there's I think it's a music box that was in the Perron family's chain of events that happened in the first Conjuring movie, which was set in 71. Somehow miraculously ends up in the Warrens' room in the events of Annabelle Comes Home, which is supposed to be 1968, 1969. So it's a little bit of a continuity error, but it's supposed to be 68, 69 for that movie.
Well, the way they're kind of stacking these movies, like they're setting themselves up for continuity errers all over the place.
Yeah, the more of them that come out, the more problems like that arise. So, and then there's, I think there's a song in that movie too from 1971 or 2, the Badfinger song that's used on the soundtrack. So there's another sort of continuity error.
Even in this one, I'll go ahead and point it out. London Calling by The Clash.
Yeah, true, yes.
That came out, 1979? This is supposed to be 1977? I mean, I get the point of using the song, right? Here we are. We're going to London, but yeah, they're off by a couple of years there.
Yeah.
As far as well, before you continue, going back to the two that we've done before, we did Annabelle back in episode 12, if you want to go back and listen to that. And then 2 episodes later, episode 14, we did the first Conjuring movie. So if you want to go back and hear our thoughts on that, that was from last year, 2019. We did both those movies. So go ahead, Smoke. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. That actually ties into where we're at now in the timeline, too, because after Annabelle Comes Home would be the first Conjuring movie. And that was mostly set in 1971. But like I mentioned, the cold open of that movie is like 1968, which shows the Annabelle doll, which ties into the Annabelle Comes Home. So after The Conjuring, then you come to The Curse of La Llorona. Now, we haven't covered this on the show, but I mean, I think I'd mentioned I'd seen it in the theater back when it came out and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that movie came out, and not even many people were even talking about it being linked. And really, this is the bare minimum of a link to the Conjuring universe. In fact, the only thing that's in there from The Conjuring is Father Perez. So.
Yeah.
And that one takes place in 1973.
Which is, since you told us that, has been a little bit of a running joke in the episodes that every movie could be tied to The Conjuring as long as that dude's in it.
Yeah, that's true. You can just pop up anywhere and it's, Conjuring Universe movie.
Hey, the guy's in the Goonies. That's a Conjuring Universe movie.
See, then after that is, Conjuring 2, where we're at right now, the episode for today. And that's set in, supposedly, 1976?
Yeah, I think it's
when
76, 77, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that catches us up to pretty much all the movies that have been released so far, and the next one is supposed to be, which would be the third Conjuring film. It's probably not third Conjuring Universe film, but just the third movie title with The Conjuring is The Devil Made Me Do It. Mm-hmm. And it should be set in 1980, 1981, if it follows the timeline of the true events that it's based on. So we assume 1980 or 81 for that, which would be the newest timeline movie.
So chronologically, this movie, that we're going to talk today, The Conjuring 2, is the most recent.
Yep, of the released one so far.
So is this the first time you guys have watched this? I mean, I know Smoke, I should never ask you that, but Will, Donnie, first time?
It's my first time.
It's your
no,
first...
I saw it when it came out.
Okay. It's hard to believe that this movie came out in 2016, man. It just doesn't even feel that old.
No.
It seemed like it was just a couple years ago, but I guess, time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, and that's what we were when we sat down to watch it, me and my wife, and when I was looking up just, to get some basic information on that, the year 2016, I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, 4 years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, and it was actually filmed in late 2015, so it's knocking on 5 years ago since it was made, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's wild.
All right, so I guess we'll pass along the usual info. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at allamericanspookshow@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at @AASpookshow. We are on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us by searching for the All American Spook Show. And we have a TeePublic page where you can go and buy, your Spook Show logoed merchandise, T-shirts, mugs, I think pillows, whatever the hell else they throw the logos on there. You can go find it there and help support the cause. So I guess we'll throw to you, Donnie, since you're the guest today. What were your initial reactions of the movie? Like, maybe after you watched it just now, or when you watched it the first time, if you can recall, or not necessarily give us your rating, but what did you think? What were your initial reactions about it?
I mean, I liked it. I don't really know. Yeah, I liked it. I mean, as far as I was reading up on the actress who played the nun, very distinct looking lady, and it kind of reminded me of there was this guy I went to college with. And we were sitting in one of our classes, and we were talking about The Wizard of Oz. And he was like, and he said, I'm going to catch some shit for this. But I always thought the Wicked Witch of the West was hot. And we were just like, what? It's just like this strange, out of the blue conversation. And but no, she was very distinct looking, and same kind of thing with this lady. And unfortunately, the guy died in a skydiving accident right around the time I guess this movie came out. But
the guy that made the joke,
yeah,
that's horrible.
Yeah, no, that's pretty bad. Well, there's no reason I should laugh at that. So. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's freaking terrible. Rest in peace, Alan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I liked it.
Yeah. Will, what were your initial reactions since this is the first time you watched it?
I thought it was pretty good. The old man living in the house, every time he popped up, I fucking wanted to die laughing.
I know, same here.
Because I was like, when did Clint Eastwood get put in this movie?
Shit.
Get out of my home, damn it!
Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino moved into their house.
But overall, I thought it was pretty good. How about you, Smoke?
I saw it in the theater when it first came out, and I'd already seen Conjuring movies that come out to that point. I guess initially seeing it, I was not as taken with it as I was with the first Conjuring movie, but I did think it was way better than the first Annabelle movie. I think it bears. This is probably the second or third time I've seen it, I guess, and I like it a little bit better this time around than I did the initial time I saw it in the theater. But yeah, I liked it.
This is at least. I'm pretty sure this is only the second time I saw it. I did not go see this in the theater, believe it or not, for whatever reason. I guess I just never got around to it. But I did see it like not too long. I think I bought it when it came out on Blu-ray. Like pretty much immediately, and then watched it then. And I definitely enjoyed it. I think I'm along the same lines as you, Smoke, where you said that it's probably not quite as good as the first one, but it's still really good.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to beat that first one as far as. I mean, first of all, it's the originality. That was the first one, and it was very well done. So it's kind of hard to catch that same fire, I guess, when you put out any sequel as far as living up to the expectations of the first one when the first one's so good. But
that being said, this one was still highly successful, and we'll go into that here shortly. But all these movies have done really well. Well, pretty much all of them, I guess. Of the main line of the Conjuring Universe movies, so to speak, all these have done very well. So our last episode, we watched the Monster Squad, and we've had a little bit of a response from that. Everything's been pretty good. So we figured we'd give Donny a chance to say something about it, since he wasn't obviously on the last episode, to say his piece about it. So, Donny, what do you think of the Monster Squad? Any good memories with that?
Oh yeah, man. Every time it was on TBS, every daggum Saturday in October, it was basically all the time in September, October. You could find this thing on TBS, but I used to watch the chopped up version, but no, just great memories of the entire movie. That's just good stuff, man. Just great memories.
Yeah, there's we mentioned it last week. There's which I still haven't had a chance to watch it, but there is a documentary made by the one of the kids, like the main kid in the movie.
Yeah.
About the Monster Squad, and it's called Wolfman's Got Nards. And I guess it's supposed to be like basically about the love that everyone has for that movie, and all the influences of the '80s kids and all that shit. But yeah. But it's basically the Goonies with monsters. Let's face it. I mean, almost down to the exact casting of all the characters and everything.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But yeah, we all love it, and like I said, it's had a good reception. So I just figured I'd give you a chance to say a few words about that. So I guess without any further ado, we'll get into the background of the one that we're talking about today, The Conjuring 2. Now here in the U.S.,
so Donnie did miss out on some of the true gems that we've done on the show, like Home Sweet Home. Missed out on that one.
Yeah. Street Trash.
Street Trash.
Yeah. Street Trash is definitely an old favorite.
Yeah, you should give a watch to Home Sweet Home one of these days.
I have not.
Good Lord.
Not.
If you have like an hour and a half to kill, but you want it to seem like it's 3 hours have gone by, then that's a good one.
I mean, we're all trapped in the house right now, but if it comes down to either watching that or punching yourself in the face for an hour and a half, you got a true dilemma. But so yeah, anyways, here in the U.S. it's called The Conjuring 2, but apparently over in the U.K. and I guess in the that area of Europe, it was actually called The Conjuring 2: The Enfield Case. I guess they wanted to be more specific, since that was what did they call it? I think they even said it in the movie. It's basically kind of like their version of Amityville.
Over the biggest, I guess, true haunting inspired event.
Yeah.
There.
So I guess they wanted to kind of cash in on that, so they called it The Conjuring 2: The Enfield Case. It was released June 10th, 2016 by New Line Cinema, the Safran Company, and Atomic Monster Productions, and it was, of course, distributed by Warner Brothers Pictures. So this is one of their tentpole cash cows, is this Conjuring universe now, and especially by this point, with the third movie in the line, it was they were raking it in.
No stopping the Conjuring train now at this point.
Yeah. All right, so I pulled up a list of the top 50 highest grossing horror films at the worldwide box office. So this, not adjusted for. I don't think this is adjusted for inflation or anything like that. But the top 50 highest. The Conjuring is number 23. That's the first Conjuring movie at $319.4 million. This movie, The Conjuring 2, slightly above it at number 22 on the list, $320.3 million. So almost exactly $1 million more than the first Conjuring. Yeah. But The Nun blows them both out of the water. It's number 19 at $365.5 million. Damn. So needless to say, and that's not even, I'm not even going down the list of the other ones. I believe I saw a separate list. Yeah, here it is. This is the top 25 highest grossing horror film franchises and film series of all time. Number 1 is Godzilla, but that's 35 movies. So they're counting every Godzilla movie ever fucking made.
Oh my god.
And it's $2.1 billion worldwide box office. Number 2, The Conjuring Universe. 7 movies. $1.9 billion in these 7 films. And now, I'm not sure of the count, if that counts The Curse of La Llorona, and it's 25 cents it made. But yeah.
I mean, that just goes to show you, though, how it doesn't even matter about the quality of them. It's the fact that, you know, that when that first movie came out and then how many people went to see it in word of mouth and all that, that the next sequels, and movies are subjective, you know, some people are going to like others better than the previous ones or whatever, but I think pretty much everybody could agree that the first Conjuring movie, script-wise and everything, and originality, it's probably better than the others that came along. It's definitely better than The Nun as far as the script and storyline. But The Nun overtook all of those because just the strength of the Conjuring universe alone.
True, yeah. I mean, yeah. Now it was a very popular thing by that point, you know. So yeah, I understand that. But I've actually heard some people say they like Annabelle, the first Annabelle, more than some of the others in this franchise. But
yeah, like I said, it's subjective. Some people are going to have their favorites, but I mean, I don't even know what the numbers on La Llorona was. But I mean, seeing that myself, for me personally, it's the weakest of all of them that I've seen. At this point, I've seen all of them. But
we'll get to it somewhere down the line. You know, we want to try to do all these Conjuring movies here in the, you know, probably in the calendar year. So we'll get around to it. Just to finish off the top 5 of this list, the Mummy franchise, number 3, $1.8 billion. The Alien franchise, number 4, with $1.6 billion, and the Resident Evil franchise, number 5, at $1.2 billion. And then I gotta say it because it's only 2 movies. Number 6 is It. The It franchise, 2 movies, $1.1 billion. 2 movies, which is by far the most impressive out of any of these on this list. So yeah, like I said, very successful, these movies. Arguably, probably, you know, because saying that Godzilla is the most successful, that's a stretch. It's 35 movies over like 100,000 years, you know. That's not necessarily fair to all the other franchises in a way, but
well, it's kind of like saying, you know, like action or drama movies type thing. Like, oh, James Bond is the biggest franchise, of course. You know, of course it is.
Yeah, there's literally like 40 movies. Yeah. How many other for us? 25, right? James Bond movies, something like that. 25, 30 movies. So yeah, it's not quite Godzilla, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Total runtime of The Conjuring 2 is 2 hours and 14 minutes, which is pretty long for a horror movie, or hell, for just about any movie for that matter. Not many break 2 hours and 14 minutes, but that's pretty long for a horror movie. It's rated R, obviously, and it is listed on IMDb as a horror/mystery/thriller. It falls in line with all those. The budget for this movie, $40 million, and it would go on to, the worldwide gross was $320.4 million, so they made a few bucks on this one. They broke even. In the U.S. alone, it made $102.4 million. So that means internationally it made $217.9 million. So that's pretty crazy. I didn't see the breakdown of like where it made the most money. I'm assuming U.S. probably, but internationally it made $217.9 million. I'm sure a big chunk of that was in the U.K. Considering the topic of the movie. Once again, we'll do the old comparison of what came out that particular week. So the weekend of June 10th through the 12th, 2016, it was number 1 in the box office here in the U.S. at $40.4 million. Number 2, Warcraft, in its first week, $24.1 million. Number 3, Now You See Me Too, which I've never seen $22.3 million. And that might have been all the money that movie made after that week, because I think that one kind of got crapped on, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
Number 4, one of Willie's favorite movies, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Out of the Shadows.
Yay!
Number 5,
Heroes in a Half Shell.
Turtle Power!
Turtle Power.
Number 5 that week, X-Men Apocalypse, which was kind of the least liked of that new First Class X-Men run, the second trilogy, so to speak. It made
so far at that point.
Yeah, well, no, I think that was, wasn't that? No, you're right. I'm sorry, you're
Dark
right.
Phoenix.
I forgot about Dark Phoenix. Yes, there was 4 of those movies, right? I still have not seen Dark Phoenix. I'm sure I'm.
I still haven't either.
I'm sure I'm not shitting the bed on that one.
Fortunately, I beat you off to the punch on that one.
We beat you to The Conjuring 2, but you beat us to Dark Phoenix. Who won? Yeah, that one made $9.9 million that week, but it was in its third week and it already made $136 million. So was it that bad? Number 6, Me Before You. Fuck, I've never even heard of it. Number 7, The Angry Birds movie. Number 8, Alice.
That was pretty funny.
Number 8, Alice Through the Looking Glass, which was I think that was the sequel to the Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp in it, right?
Oh yeah, I never saw that sequel either. Yeah.
Number 9, Captain America: Civil War, a little indie flick from Walt Disney. It made only $4.3 million that week, but it was in its 6th week and had already made almost $400 million. And number 10, to finish it off, The Jungle Book, which was another one that Disney movie that made, at least at that point, had made almost $400 million. So Disney was raking it in as usual. And it's also rare for a horror movie to come out in the middle of the summer, right? I mean, like, that's not usual for big horror movies.
True, yeah.
Most of the big ones are usually in September or October, right? The ones that have been successful in the past. And every once in a while in January or February, a good one will come out. Most of them are in September or October. So for one to come out in the middle of June, right in the middle of the big summer blockbuster season, was pretty big. This movie was filmed around Los Angeles in various studios and spots and whatnot, and it was also. It seems like, from what I could tell, the exteriors of the Hodgson house and the their neighbors, the Nottingham family. I think that was actually where they live, like the real houses. I'm sure they did like a studio version or something to do like when they blew the window out in the tree and all that shit. But yeah, like I think some of the exteriors were actually the real places where they lived. These council houses, which here in the U.S. they basically call it like urban housing, right? Like how would you phrase that? Like not necessarily the projects or anything like that, but like low income housing, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what this was. So that was in Enfield, Middlesex, England, UK. And, of course, they filmed some other stuff there in the UK. And it was filmed, seems like principal photography was September of 2015, late September 2015 to pretty much right at the beginning of December 2015 in all these various locations. So a couple, 2.5 months or so to film the whole thing. Of course, this movie stars Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga as Ed and Lorraine Warren. They reprised their roles from the first Conjuring film. And they did have a small part in Annabelle, too, right? Weren't they at the end of it or the beginning or maybe it was just kind of assumed that they were there.
Type scenes.
Yeah. So yeah, these are probably the biggest parts they've had, although you'd recognize them from other things. So it stars Madison Wolfe as Janet Hodgson. She's like the main kid that's being tortured in this. You'd know her mostly from this, or she was in Joy, the movie Trumbo, I Kill Giants. Handful of other things over the last handful of years. It stars Frances O'Connor as Peggy Hodgson. This is the mother of the Hodgson family. You would know, you would probably recognize her from AI, Artificial Intelligence, that awesome movie.
Yeah, about 20 years ago.
Another one of no, is this Donnie's favorite or Willie's favorite? I can't remember. It's Mansfield Park.
Yeah, that's Willie.
Yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, my bad.
Sorry, I've never even heard of it.
Anyways, moving on. Timeline from 2003, that Paul Walker epic, and a handful of other things. It says on IMDb she's got 48 credits on random things. Lock and Key TV movie. What, is that one that was on Netflix recently? I thought that was like a series or something. Fuck if I know.
Based on the comic book?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know. She's listed on there, but I'm not sure if she was actually in it or not. It's kind of it doesn't look like the same thing, but who knows? It stars Lauren Esposito as Margaret Hodgson. She's like the old. I kind of assume she's like the oldest of the kids, the Hodgson family. You know, on IMDb, it's got like the things that they're known for on the top. The other 3 movies that she's known for look like straight to DVD, like Walmart $5 bin specials. Some movie called Arctic Apocalypse, something called The Legend of the Five, and another one called The Alley, which looks like a horror movie, I guess, but I don't know, man. It looks pretty slim picking, so this is probably the only thing you'd know her from. Benjamin Haigh, I don't know. It's the kid that plays Billy. I think he's the littlest boy. And Patrick McCauley, who plays Johnny, he's the other brother that you barely see in the movie, except for like one scene. Other than just being boy number 2 in the background. The guy with the cool mustache, Maurice Gross, that was played by Simon McBurney. Which is an awesome name.
Like an older Paul Rudd from Anchorman.
In my night, he's probably the closest one that looked like his original character did, or the person in real life did.
Yeah. Which that was pretty. What we can mention that now. That was pretty cool at the end of the movie where they kind of showed the pictures of the actors or whatever, in the movie, and then the real people. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
You would know him from Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, The Last King of Scotland, Jane Eyre, and of course this. And apparently he's got 56 credits. He was in the show Carnival Row. Yeah, I remember. I've seen that show. That was on Amazon Prime last year. I do recall him now. A handful of other things. He's a known character actor. You would definitely recognize him without the silly mustache from other things. It also stars Maria Doyle Kennedy as Peggy Nottingham, and Simon Delaney as Vic Nottingham. They're the neighbors next door, or not necessarily next door, but across the street that kind of help out the Hodgson family. And Franca Potente, I guess is how you say it, Potente. She plays Anita Gregory. She's kind of like the skeptic lady that bust Janet for faking or supposedly faking this whole incident. She's been in the Bourne Identity, the Bourne Supremacy. So apparently she was in a handful of those Bourne movies, the Jason Bourne movies, which I've only seen like the first one of. I've never sat down and watched any of those
movies. I'm in that same boat too. I think, the first one.
I guess I watched the first one, like, yeah, it was all right, and then just never got into the next 10 movies they made. But yeah, apparently she's a big part of those movies. A handful of others. That's pretty much your main cast there. This movie was, of course, directed by James Wan, who's like the godfather of the Conjuring Universe, because he directed the first Conjuring, correct? I'm pretty sure. But he also directed the first Saw movie. He directed the first Insidious movie, Insidious Chapter 2. So, I mean, like, he's clearly the dude that kind of gets your franchise started, right? The big franchises started. Because he also directed Furious 7, one of those 82 Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah, kind of to go along with that, apparently he was offered, quote-unquote, life-altering amount of money to direct The Fate of the Furious, and he turned it down to direct this.
Yeah, timeline-wise.
Which makes you wonder, like, how much is life-altering money when you're making
movies?
I mean,
when you've already made, like, a shitload of blockbusters as it is.
Yeah, I mean, he's already made Saw, Insidious, the first Conjuring movie, Furious 7. So, I mean, he's probably rolling pretty good, and he's a producer on a lot of other movies, too. So,
and that just goes to show you how much he had already bankrolled from those movies. Now, if this had been, like, the first movie he was jumping into, he's like, oh, hell yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah.
Life-altering? Sure. I got plenty enough. Now I don't need life-altering. I'm just going to do this Conjuring 2 movie.
Yeah. He also directed the Aquaman movie. And apparently he is going to be the director of Aquaman 2, whenever they get around to making it. And, of course, like I said, he's a producer on pretty much all the Saw movies. So he had his finger in that pie for all those years, all the money that those things made. And all these Conjuring movies, too. He's a producer on the Annabelle movies, The Nun, Curse of La Llorona, and a handful of others. And he was the executive producer of Swamp Thing, the show that only lasted one season on DC Universe.
Yeah,
their streaming service.
I still haven't got around to seeing it yet, but I wish that it had gone longer, because now I don't even want to watch it because it ended so soon.
It's my understanding that apparently they that one, I guess, came out pretty good. Like, they liked what they saw, but they didn't want to continue with that because then they realized that there might be money in a movie. So that's why they went ahead and canned it after one season. Yeah, another one of the announced movies of this Conjuring series is The Crooked Man, which I figured I'd go ahead and reference since he's in this one.
That's cool.
So they're talking about making a Crooked Man movie at some point or another.
I don't know I don't know if that's. I mean, I know they've been talking about it ever since this movie came out, and they just kept going, doing some other stuff. So I don't know if that's still in the works or what.
Yeah, seems like I had seen it on like the working list of movies of the Conjuring universe. This movie was written by Chad Hayes, Carrie W. Hayes, which I'm pretty sure they're brothers, and of course James Wan, David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick. That's the whole name. It just kept going, and it's based on a story by the Hayes and James Wan. So clearly, like I said, James Wan is all over this bad boy. So, was there anything else you guys wanted to add before we kind of got into the movie itself? Anything you may have found?
So one of the things I found was apparently the nun wasn't even the visual of the nun that we saw wasn't even in this movie. They were all added during reshoots. Originally, it had a dark demon with horns. James Wan wanted to slip in the visual of the nun so you could show Lorraine Warren having a question of faith. So
yeah,
I don't know, like that. That's kind of surprising to me. That like probably the thing that sticks out most of this movie is like the one thing that they added in post.
Yeah, and it is pretty striking too, considering like the main demon in this movie is dressed like a fucking nun. there's crosses all over the wall that get like turned upside down when the nun's hanging around. So like this is some serious Antichrist action going on in this movie.
As we, as you established too in the opening of the show, where the nun has actually taken any other Conjuring movie to this point, I think, right at the box office.
Yeah, the highest grossing of any by far, really, other than the first two Conjuring movies. Yeah, by far, has made the most money.
Whoever came up with this one, you need a raise.
Whoever decided to go ahead and shove that in this movie, yeah, you deserve a little extra in your paycheck.
Hey, James, what about a nun? That's stupid. Oh, my God, you're right.
Dummy.
Another, like, kind of odd thing is apparently in India, a 65-year-old man complained of chest pains during the climax of the movie. He was later rushed to the hospital where he was declared dead.
While watching this movie?
After that, yeah.
Ooh.
Wow, yeah.
Shortly after, the hospital staff transferred his body to a bigger hospital so it could be appropriately examined. Neither the body or the vehicle arrived at the hospital and has not been seen since.
What the hell?
Now, you can't get hardly any more PR than that for this movie. I could have wrote that one.
Now,
and if this movie had come out in the 70s, they would have wrote it. Because how many movies did they announce? Don't see this movie. 5 people had a heart attack, and all the sort of
this movie will kill you.
Well, I think we've done this before, but like there were I think priests brought in to the movie to bless the.
I saw. I was going to mention that. I saw that. Now, apparently, that was attached to they had some issues when they did the first movie. There was when they did the first Conjuring movie. There was some weird shit going on, and we may have mentioned this back when we did the Conjuring episode.
You don't say.
But apparently, because there was some shit going on in that one, they brought, like you said, they brought in a priest to bless the movie or bless the set or whatever. So. Some crazy shit wouldn't go down here. I guess when you're hanging crosses upside down and having a nun as the demon, you might invoke some spirits. I don't know.
We're doing some messed up shit, so can you come and bless us?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it makes it okay that we're having it blessed and then doing it anyway.
We just don't want to die so much.
Please.
We heard about some shit that happened during The Exorcist and the Poltergeist. We don't want that same shit to happen here.
Yeah.
Don't make the movie then, bitch.
Don't make the movie on an old Indian burial ground. That's the general rule of not being haunted.
This movie, I mean, this is somewhat off topic. It's not about the Conjuring, but the Shudder has a thing called Cursed, where they've been showing stuff, little half-hour documentary type segments on cursed movies like The Exorcist and Poltergeist, and I forget. There's another one on there too, but I don't know if there's enough. There might be enough stuff on the Conjuring to do one of those one day.
Mm-hmm.
Especially that one like Willie just brought out. I'd never even heard of that about that guy the guy in India.
Yeah,
that's definitely some weird shit. That'd be something you'd like to do a little bit more reading on. So what the hell went on there? They took a left when they should have took a right.
Made that left turn at Albuquerque.
So I found that list that I was referring to a little while ago. Some other movies that they're talking about, apparently in post production, is the one that you mentioned earlier, Smoke, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Which I'm it's kind of unclear whether it's going to be The Conjuring 3 or just called The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It or whatever. There is going to be a second Nun film at some point. Apparently that's in development. And The Crooked Man, like I said earlier, is apparently in development. So that you got those two, and then this next Conjuring movie that apparently, hopefully, is still on track to come out this year. I mean, God knows with this worldwide pandemic going on that it could be postponed like a lot of other movies, or just released straight to a streaming service or Blu-ray or something, or digital. But hopefully, by the time this thing is, according to this, it's supposed to come out September 11th, 2020, which is probably a bad day all around anyways, to release The Devil Made Me Do It. But yeah, apparently that's when it's supposed to come out, September 11th of 2020. So we'll see. And I guess we'll see where things go from here. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will be looking forward to that, and it'll make another $200+ million. I have no doubt. So is there anything else you guys dug up that we should throw out on the floor before we get into the movie itself?
I'm just finding a lot of what Willie mentioned about the guy dying in India. I'm finding a lot that is basically saying the exact same. There are no updates to the story at all. So I don't know. There's just nothing.
Yeah.
There's nothing on Twitter about it. It was about any sort of updates. It's just, it's like the story hit on June 19th. The latest article is on June 20th. Like somebody was a day behind on this.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing after that.
Either that or there's a curse on this story that no one will, you know what, fuck it. There could be some seedy ties going on there. We're like, you know what, we're just going to be quiet about this. This didn't happen. Willie, you brought it up, so let's hope you don't disappear now. Don't look into it any further. I beg you. It's like that old wives' tale, like there's this script about like an Eskimo or something like that is floated around. Like apparently John Belushi read it and then he died. And then John Candy had read it and then he died. And Chris Farley read it and he died. Have you ever heard anything about that? I don't even remember what the name of the script is. Something to do with like a comedy about an Eskimo that's been floating.
It's kind of like the Ring, like the VHS tape in The Ring.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if there's any truth to it or not, but I've heard that before. That this floated around and there's like 3 or 4 guys that have like read this thing that were considered to do it and then they died.
No idea, man.
Somebody out there in Spookshow land, look that up and contact us if you've got any information on that.
Is it by chance the curse of a took?
That's it, a took. That's it. Yep, that should be the next Conjuring movie. The Conjuring 4, the Curse of a Took.
Curse of a Took.
And it's just fat comedians reading scripts and dying.
So John Belushi, Sam Kinison,
that was the other one.
Candy, Farley.
I knew we lost somebody. Will. My God, Will, where are you?
A took. He got took by a took.
I'm gone.
He had to say something about that missing dude in India, didn't he? Damn it!
We've already cursed this podcast. Now it went from the missing guy in India, Eskimo thing. Now we're doomed.
Yeah.
Well, Josh brought that one up, so I think we're okay.
Shit.
So I'll see you in hell.
All right. So, anyways.
It's intermission time. Time to pause and refresh at the snack bar. During this short break, you can treat your taste of good food and sparkling cold beverages, including delicious Coca-Cola. If you're hot dog hungry, we have them. Sizzling, juicy hot dogs served in warm, oven-fresh buns. Plus a complete menu of all your favorites. Visit the Refreshment Center now. Enjoy delicious food and ice-cold Coca-Cola.
All right, so The Conjuring 2, it begins in a bedroom. You see the bedroom with the like. Remember in the Amityville Horror, the front of the house, the way it looks, you see those windows, and then on the bottom it says Amityville, New York, 1976. I don't think really anything happens there, right? You just kind of see the inside of the bedroom, right? And they're setting up some cameras or something. Yeah. That's what it was. Yeah. So like they're in this bedroom and they're setting up some spooky equipment, to catch whatever the hell they're trying to catch, some visual evidence of a spirit or whatnot. And the Warrens are there to investigate and to confirm the story of what happened there in Amityville. Then Lorraine Warren goes into like a trance, and it's like she's seeing / acting out what happened that day. Like she's all of a sudden she's turned into like the dad or something. Wasn't that what it was? It was the dad that was going around doing that? Or
yeah, that was my understanding. It was more of like an out of body experience.
Yeah.
But seeing like inside the body.
Yeah. Like she looks in the mirror and like sees the guy, right? But it's really her doing it. Like she's kind of like you said, out of body experience. She's like cocking the gun and everything and going around and like going room to room and killing all the family. And she sees a boy with like white eyes, and she follows him down to the basement, which is of course the first thing you do if you see a creepy ass boy come around the corner. Let's follow him to wherever the fuck he's going, right?
And that's a good point to mention that. Seeing that in the theater, that's exactly what the reaction you get in the theater too. Is like, why the hell? No, don't go in there.
Yeah, that we should add, like, the best way to see these type of movies are opening night in like a crowded theater, because then you get all the best reactions to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still to this day, I think the best movie as far as film reaction that I ever went to go see was the first Scream movie. Opening night, everybody was just talking to the screen. It was hilarious.
Now, I think one of the best ones I remember was like the first Final Destination movie, because we went and saw it like opening weekend or something like that, and everybody was reacting exactly the way you want them to react, to everything that was happening.
Well, in this instance, I would want to say, "Excuse me, little boy, where did you come from?" All right, I'm going to go that way while you're going downstairs. Peace.
What's your name there? Beelzebub? All right, well, see you later. But of course, she follows him down to the basement. Once again, to the basement. Then, of course, she goes down there and she sees she sees the nun in a mirror, and then it grabs her, and then she sees someone like in the shadows, like his neck snap back. Then she wakes up, and then she tells Ed Warren, who's there, is like, he's like, "Are you all right? Are you all right?" She's like, "Yeah, this is as close to hell." Like, I guess she wants to leave or something, right? She says, "This is as close to hell as I ever want to get,"
Mm-hmm.
Then you get the screen crawl. It says, Ed and Lorraine Warren's investigation into the Amityville haunting sparked a media firestorm and catapulted them into the public eye. Meanwhile, a haunting that many would later compare to Amityville was unfolding thousands of miles away in Enfield, England. It would draw the Warrens into one of their most diabolical cases, based on the true story. And that's the title screen, The Conjuring 2. And this is where you hear the timely, 2 years before it came out, music track of London Calling by The Clash play. Yeah. Here's like a montage, the usual montage of shit in London. It's like this is the only song that anybody can ever pull up when you're trying to transition in a movie to like someone going to London. It's fucking London Calling. Every movie since 1980 has had that is going from U.S. to London has London Calling in it. This is
and there's also another Clash reference to, like a spray paint on the walls. I fought the law.
Yeah, in that montage.
Montage sequence. Yeah.
Now you're introduced to the Hodgson kids, which we said was Janet, Margaret, Billy, and Johnny. And then you see on the bottom of the screen when you see the outside of their house, it says Hodgson Residence, Enfield, England, 1977. The two girls of the family, Janet and Margaret, they take out this little like homemade Ouija board, like made on the back of a Frosted Flakes box, and they try to mess around with it. And of course, it doesn't do anything. But Janet slides it under her bed, which I guess that means like she's opened up the door to a fresh hell, putting this Frosted Flakes Ouija board underneath her bed, right?
Yeah, because it's always, anytime you see a Ouija board in one of these movies, it's The Exorcist, right?
Mm-hmm.
A couple others I can't think of right now. The other ones I just watched one the other day. It's like it starts. There's a Ouija board, even if it doesn't start it, it's there.
Yeah.
In a lot of these possession movies, including your ultimate Ouija board movie, and I'm not talking about Ouija that came out, but Witchboard from the 80s.
Mm-hmm. That's always the MacGuffin, right? That's how you open up the door to hell, is these Ouija boards, which is why I will never mess with one ever in my life. I've watched too many of these movies.
It's too late for me.
It's too late for me too. I had one as a kid.
I've never fucked with it and don't plan on fucking with it. I'm not tempting fate, I can tell you that.
I will say this, I tried to get rid of it multiple times and it kept coming back.
Shit, you're full of shit. Willie, he's been dead for 10 years.
Who's Willie?
Really, it was just your mom's like, Willie, you left your damn Ouija board on the living room floor again. I put it in your room.
Yeah. Shit.
You go back and listen to this and all you're hearing from me is
there's just audio interference where Willie is talking. And meanwhile, 29 episodes in, no one's ever fucking pointed this out. All right, so then it cuts to Janet. She's laying in bed, and she wakes up in the living room, and there's not even like a you don't see anything happen. It's just like fluffing up my pillow, ready for a night's rest. Bam! She's in the living room. Then her sister Margaret wakes up to like hear beating on the door. She looks over. Janet's not there. And she opens up the door. No one's standing there. Like, where the hell did this beating come from, right? Then you cut to the Warrens. They're on a talk show called the Becky Rivers Show. Now, is this a real show somewhere, or is this just made up for, to show that they're on talk shows? I don't know, but regardless, so there's like so it's them on stage in this show with like this skeptic guy. I guess he's like a doctor who I guess is an expert in the field and calls everything horse shit. And Ed kind of has a little bit of an argument with him, and she has to cool him off afterwards. The easy way or the hard way. Then it cuts to Janet.
I'll take the hard way.
Ugh. For two men, I mean, look, to each their own, right? I mean, but just saying. So then it cuts to Janet and Billy, and they're playing with this little zoetrope of the Crooked Man, which is like a zoetrope is like one of these little, like, I guess it's like a wind-up toy kind of thing that spins, and you see like the little cartoon or the drawing inside. The lights flicker when the thing passes, so it kind of looks like they're moving, right? It's almost like a little, what do they call those things?
Optical illusion?
Yeah, optical illusion, but like the old machines, the penny arcade machines kind of thing, right? Isn't that kind of what it is?
Yeah,
like
where it flips the papers, like real fast or whatever.
Yeah.
The little thing.
Kind of like that.
On each one,
yeah, in a way. So they're messing around with this thing, which obviously is inviting evil into the house, right? I mean, who plays with these old-timey toys in 1977 at the least?
And what kind of mother buys them for them?
I guess when you're poor, which clearly that's the whole thing here, right? They're poor. You just play with whatever the hell you can find. So they found the incarnate of evil and brought it into the house, apparently.
Here's the Ouija board, son. Here's Crooked Man. I found this Ouija board in the trash out back. I think she'd have it.
I found this zoetrope in the trash, and I made a Ouija board out of my Frosted Flakes box. So everything's cool here. Nothing to see. So then Janet is like, I would say she's sleepwalking, but she's like sleep talking in the room. She's like standing up and like arguing with somebody that, you can't hear the other side of the argument. And then Margaret wakes up, hears this, like, what the fuck, and then like, lay down, what's wrong with you, Janet? She like tucks her into the bed. And then Janet yells near her, and you hear the old man say, "This is my house." This scared the shit out of me when I was watching it, because like it's one of those like it's kind of quiet and you're leaning in like, what the fuck, what am I supposed to? And, "This is my house, god damn," like you just jump back.
It's like one of those classic jump scares that works, like
oh yeah,
it's basically like Tom Savini had mentioned about sleight of hand, like a magician sort of. You get somebody's attention focused over here, and then over there is bam, there's where it is, instead of the obvious place for it to pop up.
I've watched enough of these movies to know I should know better. That when you don't hear any music or anything, when it's dead silent, something's coming, right? But it still gets you anyways, of course. This is my house. Then
Michael Caine.
What is it, Batman?
I failed you.
And of course, like he screams out, "This is my house," and then you don't see anything, and then Janet just goes back to bed, which I'd be up all fucking night. Now I'm done, right? Like some old man just screamed in my face and scared the holy shit out of me. I'm not going back to bed, man. Then it cuts to like Billy, like he wakes up and he rolls. Didn't he get up to get something to drink because he had been eating his biscuits? Mm-hmm. Wasn't that this scene, right? Yeah. And she said, "Don't eat all the biscuits; it'll dry you up, and you have to get up and get something to drink in the middle of the night." And of course, that's what happens. So then, like, he picks up his fire truck and he puts it in the teepee, and there's like his little teepee tent that he has like set up in the hallway, and then it rolls back down the hallway, like lights blaring and everything. So then he picks it up, takes it back over, then rolls it in, and then it rolls out of the tent straight at him. Then of course, it's another one of those fucking jump screams right here, right? I think there was a loud scream when it rolls back out. Yeah, I can't remember what he said, but there was just a really loud scream when it happened. So it was another one of those motherfucker, moments when you're watching it, especially if you got good sound, like you got good surround sound going or something like that. Like I did when I was watching this. Trust me, it scares the shit out of you.
Yeah, that's why, Josh. Yeah. That's why.
I'm a pussy. You've gotten to the heart of the matter, Will. I don't know what took me so long to finally say it, but you got me. So then, of course, he goes and gets his mom, like, "Mom, there's someone in the house." And, of course, there's nothing. Then you see Janet in a rocking chair. Like there's like a chair in the corner downstairs in the living room. You see her sitting down there during this. Right, I think it's like right afterwards. She gets up and like walks upstairs or something like that. So somehow she's found herself down there randomly. Then the next morning, her mom tells her to stay home, because all this has happened. maybe you're not feeling well, so you stay home. So she's sitting there watching the TV, and the channel keeps changing. Then she looks down, and the remote's gone. She's looking for it, and her mom calls. Then she looks down, and the remote control's sitting on that rocking recliner chair. Then the TV goes completely out. Like, she's like, what the fuck? It goes out, and then there's a reflection of an old man sitting in that rocking chair. And she turns around, and there's nothing there. But the remote control just falls from midair, just blink. And then it's another fucking jump scare. My house! Right behind her.
And this is at this point, this is the part where I'm like straight up cracking up.
I wish I could say I was cracking up,
where
but
they're
I
trying
kept
to make
shitting
it
myself.
spooky upstairs. Like that shit worked perfectly.
Yeah.
That scare for me made me want to laugh.
No, it got me, man. I was leaning all in, like, oh, yeah, that's messed up. That remote just fell to the ground. My house! God damn! Got me again, son of a bitch! This old bastard. So then Ed Warren, for some reason, decides he's going to paint this creepy-ass devil nun because he sees it in his dream, and the only way he knows how to deal with this is to paint this creepy-ass demon. And then Lorraine looks at it and kind of says, you know what, we need to stop doing new cases for a while. We can keep doing the speeches or whatever we've been doing, but we need to stop with the new cases. Like, all right, whatever.
Oh yeah, because I don't know if did we mention it in the open where her vision, one of the things in her distinct vision in the Amity, when she was having right around the Amityville scene or whatever it was.
Yeah. Now
was her husband right a vision with something impaling him? You're not sure
I
what.
I couldn't quite tell in that vision what was going on. I just saw like a kind of a shadowy dude in the corner, and his head kind of snaps back, and then she screms. So I couldn't tell exactly what was going on.
That's true. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and the first, what the fuck was that?
I was trying to hit mute, but I couldn't do it in time, man. Sorry.
I thought an elephant took a shit into the microphone. Bless you. So anyways, back to the demon nun. So yeah, I think in that original vision scene, I couldn't quite tell what was going on there, but I think you do see it a little bit more clear here in a little while, what exactly was going on there. So maybe that's what you're thinking of.
That's right, yeah, the initial one was the neck breaking, neck snapping.
Yeah, just kind of like, and you can't really tell who it is. She just like sees it and then she screams, So at least I couldn't tell what the hell was going on there. So then it cuts back to Janet. She's at in the house getting ready for bed, and she like ties herself down to the bed to so she wouldn't sleepwalk away. And then immediately, like as soon as she falls asleep, falls out of the bed. Then hears someone beating on the door. And she goes over and checks, and of course there's no one there. And then she goes out in the hallway, and she flips the light switch. Of course there's no light, so she's got the flashlight going. She goes downstairs, sees the chair rocking by itself. Then she runs up to the bed, and does the little kid hiding under the sheets thing, like this is going to do anything, right? Hiding under the covers.
Keeps the flashlight on her face.
Yeah. And then of course, the sheet gets ripped off of her, and then all of a sudden both beds, because she shares a room with her sister Margaret, both their beds start rocking, and not because some guys came a knocking, right? The beds start rocking and shit. Then the mom comes in, and she's like, "All right, y'all got to stop this shit. It's the middle of the night." But Janet has a bite mark on her shoulder, right below her neck there. So she thinks they're playing, and then she's kind of starting to fuss them out. Then all of a sudden the dresser slides across the room and just slams the door shut. So now they all fucking take off running out of the house, which is what I would have done a few nights ago when the old man jumps out and says, "My house!" I'd be out of that motherfucker, but they decided to stay this long. So they all get together and they run across the street to the Nottingham house, which then it comes up on the bottom, says Nottingham residence. So they're kind of telling, the mom is kind of telling her, what the hell was going on, and she saw it with her own eyes and everything. And they have a dog, and it's got a little bell on the side of the door, and it rings the bell when it wants to go out. I just thought I'd point that out for what happens. Obviously it's foreshadowing for a scene a little bit later on. So then the cops arrive, and they go into the house, and they hear noises, and then this is hilarious. They're I hear something coming from the walls, and then they move a chair to kind of check it. She gets down, and all of a sudden the chair goes down the hallway and back into the kitchen. And then the next scene is the cops leaving, well, we'll file a report. See you later. Which is obviously the natural reaction to all of this is, I'm leaving and you shouldn't be here either. See you later.
I understand you're poor. I would live under a bridge.
So then Judy Warren, which is the Ed and Lorraine Warren's I guess like 12, 13-year-old daughter. She's sitting there like drawing or coloring or doing something in the living room with her mom there, and it's like she senses something, and she looks down the hallway, and she's like, "Mom, what is that?" Or they're like, "Who is that?" And you look down the hallway, and the nun is standing there. Then Lorraine says, "Go back in the living room." And then she follows the nun down to the room, which all things you shouldn't do. Like, none of this, right?
Again, this is the theatrical reaction. What the hell? What? No, don't go in there.
Yeah. So she follows the nun down to the hallway and goes into, I think it's Ed's study room or his office or whatever. She's sees the painting of the nun hanging on the wall, like beside the door. And she's standing there looking at it. And then all of a sudden, like one of those reel-to-reel like tape recorders is sitting on the desk, and it starts playing. What does it play? Like oh shoot, I done blanked on the song. It's like a Christmas song, right? Like
I'm blanking on it now too.
Yeah, I don't know.
Shit.
I thought it was a religious song though.
Yeah,
It seems like it pops up again later in the.
It does, but I always took it more of like a Christmas song. It's a religious song. It's like, you know, the king.
Grandma got run over.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it. There again.
There should be a re-edit. We need to do the re-edit of this movie now, and go back and put "Grandma got run over by a reindeer" in this scene. I can't remember, but yeah, it's one of those religious, like the king is here, kind of like, you know, this is fucked up, while they're playing this song in the middle of this thing. But it's one of those kind of things. It starts playing, and then she looks back over at the painting of the nun, and the eyes glow. And then the door slams shut and the window shutters close, so she's locked into the room. And then she looks over and sees a shadow start walking across the room. Now, I'm not waiting for this shadow to get to wherever the fuck it's going, but she stands there and watches this shadow. I
wonder where it's headed.
I'm going to see this through now. I'm dead anyways. So she sees the shadow walk across the room. It goes behind the painting. You see the hands come out from behind the painting and then run at her, like grab the painting off the wall and run toward her. So she falls back. Then the nun, like, it's like kind of this chaotic thing. Like, she falls back and looks over and the nun points, and it's Ed standing there. He says, "I'm sorry, Lorraine." And then you see him get stabbed through the chest. So that's the vision right there that you referred to a second ago. Then she wakes up and you realize, you know, that this was just one of her visions. But she is, like, during this, she has, like, scratched some letters and wrote all over the Bible she had in her hand while she was having the vision. Then it cuts to a scene of a reporter doing a story on the Hodgsons, and I think some of this is, like, based on what really happened, right? The reporting and the newspapers and the news or whatever in the country at the time. Then it kind of slowly, like, dissolves into an interview that this guy is doing with Janet and Margaret, like, sitting on the couch. They're kind of talking to her while they're filming it and everything, and then Janet starts talking, like, she starts sounding like an old man all of a sudden. And then this is when they find out who it is, or what this demon or spirit is or whatever, and he says, "My name's Bill Wilkins." So clearly she's possessed, because, like, this 11-year-old girl sounds like a 72-year-old man, because I think he even says, "Oh, I'm 72 years old." So then
my name, no, nothing.
Fuck it, I quit. So yeah, so then, like, apparently they pull out this damn creepy ass zoetrope again and start playing with it, and the Crooked Man disappears. Like, they turn it on, they're watching, and all of a sudden the fucking Crooked Man just disappears off of it, like the little cartoon guy disappears. Billy hears the bell ring at the door, so the dog is hitting the bell to be let out. And then all of a sudden it just turns into the Crooked Man. Like, it's a dog sitting there, and all of a sudden it just transforms into this fucking, like, 8-foot tall Crooked Man. Autobots transform into fucked up shit.
Man.
So yeah, the Crooked Man, like, chases Billy around, and then he turns around, but then, like, they hear he goes back into the room, and he's screaming and shit, and everybody's kind of standing there, and they hear the Crooked Man poem or whatever it is, right? I'm a crooked man, lives in a crooked house, whatever the hell else he says. And then it comes around the corner, and it's Janet, and she's clearly been possessed once again by Bill or whatever the fuck is going on here. I'm Bill Wilkins. Boo!
I'm 12 years old.
Oh my gosh.
And then like the fireplace, like I don't know what you'd call it, the cover that goes in front of a fireplace, it just gets picked up and tossed across the room and like sticks into like this cabinet that's in the corner. So then that's when I guess they finally start to decide to call in the big guns. So then it cuts to a scene where there's a priest kind of filling in the warrants to this case and telling them, like, hey, we need the church to go investigate this. We'd like y'all to go and check it out. Lorraine is hesitant because, like we said earlier, she's had this vision that Ed's going to die. So she's kind of like, I don't really want to do this, but she agrees to do it anyways. So then, of course, they arrive in England and they go to the Hodgson house, and they are shown the room full of crosses. Now they've got the main bedroom, I guess the girl's bedroom. They've got like 48 crosses hanging on the walls in this room to like ward it out, and they lock the room up with like a chain and a padlock and everything.
Because that's not going to backfire.
Yeah, that's all going to go smooth from here on out. Then there's a scene where Lorraine talks to Janet, and Janet tells her that the spirit wants to hurt her. Then, so they decide to do this little thing where like Janet's going to sit in that chair in the living room, that rocking chair in the corner, and she's going to have like a mouthful of water. So, like, I guess they could see whether she's doing this voice or not, I guess is the premise, right? Then it says, she says, well, he won't talk since y'all are looking at him. So then she puts the water back in her mouth, and they all turn around, and then, of course, it starts talking. And it's pretty cool the way they did this effect, too. Like, it almost looks like the dude's sitting there. Like, it's kind of a blurry image.
Yeah.
That's clearly
kind of
her.
Focus, right? Like,
yeah. It's clearly her, but then
in the background's out.
Yeah, it's called bokeh.
Is that what the effect is, or?
Yep.
The blurry background.
Okay, all right. Yeah. That they do that, and then
that.
Yeah, man, it's that. So they do that, and like you can see him, like you can see her kind of slowly transform into the guy, kind of, like you can see him talking and everything as he's talking. And then so Ed's having this conversation with him. He's like, "This is my house. I came here to visit my family. I'm not going to leave." And then Ed shows him like he's got like a necklace with a cross on it. He shows it to him, and then you hear no, and then you assume that Bill leaves, and she spits the water out, and it looks like maybe everything, maybe that chased them off. Everything will be all right. So they all go to bed that night. The Warrens are sleeping there at the house, and then somewhere in the house you hear whistling, and Janet wakes up, and she's on the ceiling in the living room. Upside down on the ceiling. Then she looks down, and the old man Bill is sitting in the rocker in the corner, and he just stands up and goes upstairs, and then pulls Janet. Like, she's still got that rope where she tied herself, before she went to sleep. She's still got the rope on her arm. Bill goes upstairs and like pulls her into that cross room. Remember the bedroom with all the crosses and everything, and then all the crosses inside that room flip upside down. And then, of course, Bill appears in the room, the old man, and grabs a hold of her. And they hear the struggling and everything, and everybody comes to rush there. And then the door's cracked open, but, like, you can't get it all the way open because it's chained shut. And then the mom, Peggy, she sees Bill grab a hold of her and pull her in. She's like, oh, God, someone's in there with her. So the Warrens help, like, unpadlock it and open up the door, and they rescue her from these curtains. Because apparently he's got some curtains like draped around her head and her neck, and he's choking her out with them. So they save her from the curtains.
I guess in poor neighborhoods are made out of plastic.
Yeah. So then, like the Warrens and the Morris guy and the skeptic lady, they're all together, and they debate whether this is legit or not. They think maybe they're kind of thinking this might be a little bit of a put on, because so far they haven't seen anything that you couldn't disprove, right? So then there's a couple of different random scenes where, like, I guess this is kind of like the levity scene before the shit goes down. Ed kind of picks up a guitar and starts singing an Elvis song, I Can't Help Falling in Love with You, that song. He's singing it to him, and everybody sings along. It's kind of this little happy moment with the kids.
I don't know. How's it go?
You know how it goes.
Never heard this.
So then there's like this. They're having like a montage where they're setting up all their equipment and shit in the house, and then he picks up like this big ass camera and he's looking through it, and he says, "Oh man, this is crazy. It's so small and light." Meanwhile, it's like, the size of a desk, one of those old big,
Everything's relative, right?
Yeah. 1977 at this point, yeah. So then Lorraine is out talking with Morris, and he tells her that, I kind of want to help them out because my daughter just died, at some point in the, recent past, and I kind of want to believe that there's life after death or whatever, so I'm helping them out to kind of try to get proof that this is actually a thing, right? Then Ed decides to kind of help around the house, and he goes down into a flooded basement. And then, of course, Bill appears, and he's like creeping up on him. She's like, "There's someone behind you," and he looks, and there's nothing. And then all of a sudden, Bill appears. She looks down, and Bill's underwater looking at her. And then he grabs a hold of her and pulls her down, and then he bites her on the arm. And then they hear like a plunk in the water, and Ed looks around, and he finds like the partial, like false teeth underwater, and it fits the bite mark, right, where the 2 teeth are missing on the bite mark on her arm or whatever. So then it cuts to the kids in the living room, and Janet sees something down the hallway, like in the kitchen, but you can't really see what's going on. So the one of the brothers, Johnny, he goes in the kitchen to look, and he finds like there's like 8 to 10 knives like stuck in the kitchen table, and he pulls one out, and then all of a sudden he looks behind him, and then Janet's standing there with a knife. And then just chaos ensues, like, you know, you hear boom, bang, you know, all kinds of shit going on in the kitchen. It's like a Tom and Jerry fight in there all of a sudden. Then they bust in and they see that the kitchen's torn all to hell. It turns out Johnny's okay. They find him pretty quick, but then Janet's missing. So they're looking around, they hear, and then they open up this closet, and it's, I guess it's like a hot water heater or a furnace or something in this closet, and she's all twisted up in there, like all around it, like. And she's saying something like, oh. It's kind of half talking in the Bill Wilkins voice. What a spoon, cousin! So pretty much right on cue, this is when Anita, the skeptic lady, she shows up, and she says, it's all a lie, she's faking it, and then she shows them a tape of Janet in there, like, purposefully, like, bending the spoon and flipping the table over and throwing the plates everywhere, like ripping the kitchen up. You see her like purposefully doing it. So like, this is the proof. This is all a lie. She's put all this bullshit on. So then everybody leaves, and the Warrens decide to leave too, because like the church, like, this is enough evidence to prove that like this isn't real. So we're leaving. They leave, and then Janet explains to a couple of the other kids that she did it on purpose because Bill told her that she would kill them if she didn't find a way to make them leave. So that's why she did that on purpose.
Now, see, at this point, I would have called the ghost bluff. Because at this point, nobody in the movies died.
What are you going to do, Bill? Huh? You fucking pussy ghost?
I'm just going to scare the shit out of you.
Why are you saying this? You've hurt Bill's feelings.
I'm trying the best I can. I got the handbook of the recently deceased.
So then, like, Ed and Lorraine, they board the train. They're ready to head out, and then, like, a couple of the tapes or the reels fall on the ground, and there's, like, this X. So then somehow he gets this, you know what, maybe I should cross these tapes together, and this was the one scene that was like, all right, come on, you know, like, right? They decided to pull out the 2 reel-to-reel recorders.
Because everybody carries
and
2.
He's got 2, right? And he's instantly able to cue them up right at the exact moment that they would play together. Right? Like, he rewinds them willy-nilly, but then they start right at the same spot that they need to start. And then when played together, you hear Bill saying, "It won't let me go." So I just thought that was a little over the top, right? This whole thing, but whatever. So, like, they piece together, like, wait a minute, you know, like, this isn't just Bill doing this. Something else is afoot here. You know, there's a bigger demonic presence here.
And I think you should point out at this point, Lorraine can't feel any, like, spirits anywhere around, and I guess that's how she is able to tell what's going on in other places.
Yeah, she doesn't really like feel it in this house, like nothing, you know, very serious, I guess, in this house up to this point. So then this is when Lorraine has another vision of Bill. She sees the nun, and that, like, now she realizes that the nun, the demon or whatever, has enslaved Bill Wilkins' spirit, right? Like, she's kind of getting him to do the work of keeping them, of whatever the hell the point of all this is, right? Like, I'm a little confused at that part, right? Like, why this demon needed Bill Wilkins involved, who knows? But I guess that's the connection, right? I don't know. But basically, I guess she's wanting the soul of Janet and Margaret or whatever, specifically Janet. So, like, this is why they've got, like, the spirit of Bill and they're locked in there. So she comes to this realization, so they decide they're going to go back. Then it cuts back to them, and instantly Margaret's fucking levitating in the living room. They're all screaming, and Janet has gone, like, full demon over in the corner, like, laughing with yellow eyes and everything, and then slings Margaret across the room. They all run out, and then she manages to lock them out, so like no one can get in the house. And that's right when the Warrens come back to the house. Ed manages to like find a way in the back door. He gets in, then the door shuts, and they can't get in. Like Lorraine and the Nottingham neighbor, he can't get in. So he comes and takes like a pickaxe, or not a pickaxe, but a hatchet, and he's kind of chopping at the door real slowly, like not making any kind of headway. Just like he can't get in. He can't get in there fast enough. So like Ed's in there fucking fighting a demon, and they can't knock a hole in this door to get in there. So then Ed's in there struggling or whatever, kind of like finding his way into the house. And then he gets into like the living room through like a hole in the floor. And then as soon as he stands up, like the spirit like opens up a steam pipe and burns him in the face. So he can see, but he can't see very well. Everything's all blurry, of course. So then Lorraine recalls the demon's name, because she's established that, like, all right, we need to know what the name of this demon is, because, like, if we know its name, then we have the power over it. Then she recalls that, like, wait a minute, when she had that vision, she was writing shit in the Bible, which conveniently she puts all this shit together, right? Wait a minute.
No, she wouldn't look that up. Why did I do this? What did I write?
Yeah, so she rushes out and gets the Bible and puts it together that the letters spell out the name Valak. So now they have the name of the demon. Then right at that moment when she says the name, lightning hits this tree and like splits it apart. And the tree is, what's left of the tree stump is like this huge spike in the ground now. So now you're getting the connection to the vision she saw with Ed, getting pierced with this spike to the chest. Then, of course, we go back to this fucking zoetrope. It's around again. It's spinning and playing the Crooked Man song, and then the Crooked Man disappears when Ed is looking at it. And then it turns around and it's like right behind him, and it kind of chases him down the hallway into the room. Then Lorraine finds a way in. Then Ed finds Janet in this room. Remember the bedroom with all the 48 crosses in there. Janet's standing in there, and she blows the windows open, and she's about to jump on that tree, that's basically just a huge spike in the ground now. He manages to get over to her just in time to catch her, but he's only hanging on by like a curtain. Then Lorraine comes in, and of course right in between them the nun appears, and then she basically just easily dispatches him at this point. Valak, I know your name, and I'm condemning you to hell. Boom, he's gone. And then she manages to grab Ed and Janet before they fall onto the tree. So all's well. Next morning, you find that everyone's okay, and everybody's getting checked out with an ambulance or everything. And then Ed decides to give Janet his cross, saying like, if you ever need this, it's yours now. And eventually, when you get old enough, you pass it on to someone else. Which I'm sure that will eventually come up in some other movie at some point, right?
Oh,
Then you see on the screen the words, "The haunting of Enfield would go on to become one of the most documented cases in paranormal history. Peggy Hodgson would continue to live out the rest of her days in the Green Street house. In 2003, she passed away quietly while sitting in a chair in the living room, in the exact same spot where Bill Wilkins had died 40 years earlier." So then, like you see there, I think, you don't see the credits just yet. Then it cuts back to Ed Warren. He's finally back at his house, and he puts the zoetrope, the Crooked Man zoetrope, into the evil room, his haunted artifacts room, whatever the hell you want to call it. Like, everyone has this room in their house, right? So he puts the zoetrope in there.
No.
So and then you see, oh, you don't have an evil room? Well.
No, I keep that one out.
Yeah. But you do see Annabelle sitting behind him, like in that case in the background. So they had to slip Annabelle in there, right? Then you see the Warrens dance in the living room to that Elvis song, "Falling in Love with You," that plays, and then that's it. It says credits. Then during the first few minutes of the credits, they play the actual interview tapes of Janet Hodgson when she's like possessed by Bill Wilkins, and you can hear her talk like Bill and everything, while they're showing like comparison pictures of like the real pictures of the Warrens versus the movie and the Hodgsons and so on. So, and then the credits, and that's it. So there you have it, The Conjuring 2 from 2016, the third installment of the Conjuring Universe. Donnie, you're our guest today, so we do a star rating, 0 to 5. Obvious, 0 being horrible, don't recommend it, to 5 being one of the greatest movies I've ever seen. So where would you land this one for you? How many stars would you give it?
I'd probably 3. I'd probably go as high as 3.5.
Solid.
Yeah.
Will, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna sit on 3.5 on this one. I would have went a lot higher, except instead of being scared in some scenes, I was laughing. But there was a lot of good stuff in here. I mean, like the early, scares where they're just kind of trying to be ominous and not really showing you what you want to see. I think that's the stuff that works the best in this movie.
Yeah, good point.
Smoke, where you at on this one?
I'm going. I'm landed at three stars for me on this one. Enjoyed it. I actually liked it a little bit better this time around than this. This is probably my third time seeing it. Well, second full time seeing it. I think we started watching it at some point and then had to stop for some reason. So the second time I've seen it all the way through to the end. And I liked it a little bit better than the first time. So I'll go with 3. I think it continues, it keeps things in the Conjuring universe moving along pretty good. Much better than The Curse of La Llorona, for instance. Or even The Nun, which we'll get to The Nun at some point too. So, but yeah, I'd landed at 3. And I can't remember if I gave the first Conjuring, I think we all gave it unanimous, but I can't remember what that was. It a 4? Or was
Yeah, I actually went and pulled that up just now since we've done 2 of these before. I failed to mention it up to now, and I'm sorry. But for The Conjuring, we all 3 of us gave it 4 stars. And for Annabelle, Will, you gave it 3 3/4 stars. Smoke, you gave it 2.5 stars, and then I gave it 3 stars. That was for Annabelle. So Donnie, you gave it 3.
A 3 for me.
3. Smoke is 3. Will, what did you say? I'm sorry.
3.5.
3.5. I think I'm gonna go 3.5. I think this isn't quite as good, like I said earlier, as the first Conjuring movie. And I agree with you, Smoke. It seems like I did enjoy it a little bit more this time around than the first time that I watched it for whatever reason. It's all in when you see it and what you've seen like right before it or something like that too. Like you said, it's always subjective.
Yeah, I think it's sort of there's a certain amount of anticipation for seeing something that's like as strong as the first movie.
Yeah.
Or I mean, not that you expect it to be exactly like that one, but there's that bit of anticipation, and when it doesn't quite live up to that one, then the initial reaction is a little bit of disappointment or whatever, and then you get a little bit of time, I guess, when you review it the next time. For me, anyways, that's the way I felt about this, the way I felt about the Halloween remake, the most recent Halloween remake. I mean, not remake, but sequel, and quite a few other movies too like that.
And I think I pointed this out all the way when we did Annabelle in episode 12. When we watched Annabelle for that episode, I went and watched The Conjuring right before it, just so I could kind of get the context, because it had been a while since I'd seen The Conjuring. So then that kind of downgraded Annabelle for me.
Oh, yeah.
When I watched it, I'm like, I just watched The Conjuring, and then Annabelle. I was like, man, this movie is just not as good as The Conjuring, So I kind of had to knock it back a step when we watched that one. So it's all in when you watch it. That's the point. It's kind of subjective to what you've seen recently, and like, well, this was way better than that, so on and so forth. We've mentioned that a few times. It's also worth mentioning The Conjuring 2 on IMDb. It got 7.3 out of 10 stars, which is a pretty fair rating. And on Rotten Tomatoes, really good score, 81% in both the tomato meter and audience score. Both were actually at 81%. So this one got pretty good reviews. I mean, even on the aggregate, of Rotten Tomatoes, that's pretty damn good. I mean, that's certified fresh on their little scale, So yeah, I think. But the point is, I think we all enjoyed it, and we definitely recommend you checking it out. So, Donnie, how did you enjoy your first time guesting on the old show here?
Man, it's just like old times. It's just a little different. It's a little out of my wheelhouse as far as being able to, banter back and forth, being a horror movie guy, but also I've kind of been out of the movie review realm for quite a long time. So, but no, it was fun. Yeah, I appreciate the invite.
Yeah, we definitely enjoyed having you on, and hopefully we can do this on the regular every once in a while. You can jump on, if maybe when we do the next street trash type movie, we can get you on we can have a little fun with that.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome.
I also failed to mention too, you earlier when I was introducing you, actually went to film school, right?
I did. Yeah, I went to Full Sail. I was fortunate enough to have a 4.5 year freelance career, mainly in Chicago. Worked on a bunch of music videos and commercials and such. Did one movie for about a week. It was Shall We Dance, and yeah, totally forgettable. But J-Lo's ass.
Yeah. Well, at least you have that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you bring a slightly different perspective than either of us. I mean, you've actually been on that side of the lens, per se, at least a little bit, So
yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, Donnie, we definitely appreciate you coming on, man, and hopefully, like I said, we can do this again sometime soon. For the next episode, we are going to be watching the original Friday the 13th from 1980, the one that started the whole franchise and kind of elevated the slasher flick to a whole different level, right, Smoke, when this came out?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Started off that whole, didn't start it off, but really opened up the whole holiday horror kick after Halloween had begun it.
On IMDb, the synopsis for Friday the 13th, which, I mean, I'm sure at this point you've seen this movie, 100 times, but I'll go ahead and read the synopsis. A group of camp counselors are stalked and murdered by an unknown assailant while trying to reopen a summer camp where, years before, it was the site of a child's drowning and a grisly double murder. So before I continue, we forgot to do our couple of our new features there, which just brought it to mind with Friday the 13th. Will, you do the kill count with each episode. I'm sure this one's pretty easy, but Friday the 13th is going to have you doing a little bit more work. So what's the kill count on this episode of the Spook Show here with the Conjuring 2?
I counted 5 live people and 1 dead person that all died in this movie. So that'd be a total of 6.
So what's the count? You talking about the 5 at the beginning?
5 family members and then the nun going back. Well, I mean, I guess the nun, is dead, but also going back to hell. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's left to interpretation whether you want to call it dying.
This is almost as loose as counting Dracula being sucked back into limbo in the Monster Squad. So
yeah, it's kind of hard to do kill counts when you're doing supernatural elements. And
we've probably picked a couple of bad ones to start this kill count thing on. It's harder to keep account with these type of movies.
It's not like you're setting me up for failure, guys.
What? No.
Well, it's also the other thing to segging into the other thing that we're doing. It's also not that these 2 movies that we've done aren't really high body count movies, or the other new thing we're doing is the gore score thing, which is a tribute to the late great Chaz Balin, who used to do the gore score. But so yeah, these 2 movies aren't really conducive to the body count and the gore score. So given that, I'd say it's a 1 on the gore score meter, and that is all also related to, like Will was saying, the body count is really at the beginning of the movie, showing the Amityville segments of the movie. That's where the gore is too, is in those, when he's going around and killing the family members. So it's all right there, and the rest of it is just it's not a movie about gore or body count, really. So
yeah, I mean, this is more of a demonic, supernatural type movie, and spiritual and all and whatnot. So it's a little bit harder to do that kind of stuff, but that's kind of our new feature on each episode. We'll kind of go into that. So like I said, Friday the 13th next episode, that should be a little bit more. We're going to up the gore factor, and we're going to up that kill count quite a bit in the next one that we watch. So once again, Donnie, thanks for being with us this week. I'm Josh for Will and the Professor Smoke. We are the All-American Spook Show podcast. We'll catch you later, guys.
Please replace the speaker on its rack when you're ready to leave. Failure to do so will damage both the speaker and your car. We'll be grateful, and so will the patrons who follow you.